Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about your second essay, which is your multi-source essay. So far this semester, the articles that we've read have focused on ethical issues when conducting experimental research. So for paper 2, I want you to examine an ethical issue in your field of study. And I made this very broad and vague because I want you to have flexibility in defining and narrowing your area of focus. So let's say you're a nursing major. Maybe you can look into how patients' privacy might be violated in the way that healthcare workers are unethically using social media. Or if you are a business major, maybe you might want to write about how people who are in leadership positions or authoritative positions might be abusing their power, etc. So I really want this to be an interesting paper for you. So I've really left this open so that you can, have a lot of flexibility in narrowing your focus and choosing your topic. But in this paper, you must synthesize 3 sources. So in paper 1, you synthesize 2 to 3 sources. In this paper, you have to have 3 sources. And these are sources that you are researching and finding on your own. So the goal of this paper is to gain an understanding of the background of your chosen topic. So for example, if you were researching physician-assisted suicide, which I'll refer to as PAS here, this paper might explain PAS, look into the history of it and the journey to getting it legalized in America, and taking a closer look at the controversy surrounding it. So you're really giving background, in this paper, you're really giving background information on the topic that you chose to examine, and it has to be an ethical issue. So there has to be some kind of a debate or controversy surrounding this issue. So please note, you're not allowed to use the topic of physician-assisted suicide because I'll be using it throughout this video and future videos as an example. So here are some steps that you should take in order to complete this assignment. First, you want to turn your topic or idea into a focused, fully articulated research question. And I have a separate video that will be reviewing research questions and how you can create them, etc. So if I chose a topic of physician-assisted suicide, the question that my paper might be answering is, how has the history and legal battles of physician-assisted suicide affected its acceptance into American society? So after you've settled on a research question, you want to then conduct your research and find 3 academically acceptable, credible sources to synthesize in order to help you answer your question. So previously, when we were talking about ethical issues in conducting research studies, we looked at Washington, Kelly, and Emanuel, and those 3 sources were all credible, and they all helped to answer the question that that paper was based on. So you are now doing your own research to answer whatever question it is that you are creating here. I will have separate videos on how to evaluate the credibility of sources and also how to navigate York's research databases in order to find your sources. So after you've found your sources, you should then look for connections between them and organize those connections like we did in Wiki 1. So remember, in Wiki 1, we listed out a specific point, and then we were listing what each author was saying about that particular point. So that's going to be a very helpful technique for you to use to help you organize your ideas and help you organize the ideas of these 3 articles so that you're not too overwhelmed with too many ideas floating around. Then you will create a working thesis and an outline. A possible working thesis for my research question on physician-assisted suicide might be the controversial way that physician-assisted suicide was introduced to American society has shaped people's resistance to legalizing it. So I went from asking this question to answering this question, and this is my working thesis. And of course, I can always revisit this and edit it as needed based on the research that I'm finding. So for paper 1, remember you wrote your formal outline where you had a working thesis and you listed out the points that you wanted to discuss in that paper. You'll be doing the same process for paper 2. You will then work in stages by first outlining your paper, then drafting it for peer review, and then finally completing the final copy of it for submission. So some key points to keep in mind. This essay will be 3 to 4 pages. I am not going to read anything that's beyond 4 pages, so please make sure you stay within that page limit. And when I ask for 3 pages, I mean 3 full pages of text. Your paper should contain an introductory paragraph in which you introduce a topic and give the audience enough background to understand your discussion. And your discussion should end with a thesis statement which gives the reader a clearer understanding of the main point of your essay. And do not discuss one article in its entirety first, then move on to the next article. Remember, this is a synthesis, so you have to show those connections throughout your body paragraphs where you're discussing multiple articles in each body paragraph. So body paragraph 1 could be about articles A and B and the connections between those, or you're focusing on the specific point that you're raising, rather than focusing on individual articles. So you can have a specific point and articles A and B might support that. Then for paragraph 2, articles A and B might also support that. For paragraph 3, maybe articles B and C supports that point. So so you're organizing it according to the particular point that you're raising, and throughout you're synthesizing those articles. Now you can absolutely discuss all 3 articles in each body paragraph, but that's not a requirement. The requirement is that you're discussing at least 2 articles in each body paragraph. You're going to also write well-developed paragraphs with concrete supporting evidence, which illustrates your point and supports your thesis. Again, please review my lecture video on essay formatting to help you with structuring your paragraphs. And you will include a cover page, in-text citations, and reference page that follow APA style. There are separate lecture videos for each one of these topics. And introduce all quotes with a signal phrase that offer contextual summary. And again, use the Purdue OWL website, which I have already introduced you guys to, for guidance on correct citations. Your work should be typed double-spaced Times New Roman size 12 font. Ensure your spelling throughout is correct and your essay follows standard grammatical conventions, and write in past tense. So whenever you're writing in APA format, it should be written in past tense. So you wouldn't say, for example, Smith states, you would say Smith stated or Smith argued, etc. And you're also creating an original title for your essay. So don't title this as paper 2 or the multi-source essay, or use one of the titles of one of your articles. You're creating your own original title that's reflective of the content of your paper. Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that paper 2 will be laying the groundwork for paper 3, where you're basically incorporating this paper into paper 3. So as I noted here, I strongly suggest you use this essay to lay the groundwork for your final research paper. And you can think of this paper as providing background information for your final paper, where you can incorporate most of this paper into your final essay. If you do not want to continue with this topic for your final research paper, you're welcome to change the topic to focus on another interest you have, but it must still be an ethical issue related to your field of study. So let's say after you're done writing paper 2, you decide, you know what, for paper 3, I want to choose a completely different topic. That's totally fine. You don't have to incorporate this paper into paper 3. You can choose a different topic as long as it's an ethical issue that you're still examining. My purpose of suggesting that you incorporate paper 2 is to make things easier for you more towards the end of the semester. So your final research paper, which is paper 3, will be 8 to 10 pages using 8 to 10 sources on your chosen topic. And this paper, meaning paper 2, can count towards the 8 to 10 pages if you choose to incorporate it. So if you are incorporating paper 2 into paper 3, you will, of course, have to tweak some things, like your introduction will need to be changed, your thesis will need to be changed, etc., to reflect the new direction of paper 3, but you're welcome to do that. So let's take a look at an example of how the question that I raised in paper 2 can fit into paper 3 so that you can see the bigger picture. So let's say for paper 3, I decide, you know what, this is the question I'm going to be answering. Does the evidence from states where physician-assisted suicide is legalized justify the legalization of physician-assisted suicide across America? So now I'm going to list 3 to 5 sub-questions to help me answer this main question. So this main question is the question that my overall essay for paper 3 will be focused on answering. And these sub-questions will help me answer this main question. So my first sub-question is, how has the history and legal battles of physician-assisted suicide affected its acceptance into American society? So this is kind of giving a little bit of a history of physician-assisted suicide and the legal battles, etc., which will help to set the stage for this paper. And as you can see, this is the question that I'm writing about in paper 2. So I just need to edit paper 2 and cut out, things that I feel need to be cut out, like the introduction and the conclusion, etc., or tweak it. And then I can actually incorporate paper 2 into paper 3, and it will do so by answering this first sub-question here. And then I would just need to continue writing paper 3, and these are my other sub-questions that I'm listing to help me answer this main question. So paper 2 is not a condensed version of paper 3. It's just answering one of the sub-questions that I hope to raise in my third essay. But again, if you want to approach paper 3 differently, where you're writing a totally different paper, perfectly fine. This is just a suggestion to help you out when you're ready to write paper 3. So you would have already finished some of the work and understood your topic a little bit more in depth when you're ready to tackle paper 3. And that's it for my explanation of your second essay. Remember, for your second essay, you are synthesizing 3 sources. You are creating your own topic. It has to be related to an ethical issue in your field. And so you're creating your own research question. You're conducting your own research to find those 3 sources. You're creating your own thesis, and you're writing your own paper that's synthesizing those 3 sources to help you answer the research question that you created. All right, happy writing, and email me if you have any questions.